Happy Earth Month, everyone. Welcome to the Roundhouse Aquarium. And it's not just Earth Month. Today is Earth Day. And we are continuing our Keep It Green, Keep It Clean Earth Month celebration with the Ocean In Your Bathtub virtual reading event. And I'm pretty excited about this event because we have our author, Seth Fishman, here, and our marine scientist, Marissa Wu, here. And just to remind you, we're going to be having them answer some of your questions. But before that, I want to do a quick thank you to our Earth Month sponsors. To the Port of Long Beach, thank you. To Chevron, thank you. And to Dive and Surf, thank you. Now, like I said, I want to encourage questions in the chat, interaction in the chat, because I have my favorite animal here, a sea turtle sticker that we will be giving away to a lucky winner from our chat. So you can ask both Seth and Marissa questions. And again, just to do a brief intro, we have our marine scientist, Marissa Wu, who will be joining us, and our author of The Ocean in Your Bathtub, Seth Fishman. All right, let me get them queued up. Hi, you guys. How are you? Welcome, welcome.
Hello. Happy Earth Day.
Hello. Happy Earth Day. How's it going?
Great, great. I'm going to turn it over to you, Marissa, all right, to kind of lead this super fun event and our really great reading of The Ocean in Your Bathtub.
All right, thank you so much, Brittany. I'm super excited about this event. Thank you so much, everybody out there, for joining us today. I highly encourage you guys to participate as well and ask lots of questions throughout this presentation. If you guys have questions about marine life or marine science, or if you have questions directed towards our author, please make sure and comment and leave those questions for us. All right, we will get to them very shortly. And if you guys do that, you guys get a chance to be in our opportunity drawing for that awesome sticker. So it's very exciting. Speaking of exciting, I am so excited that I actually have a copy of The Ocean in Your Bathtub, and I'm just jazzed that I get to be talking with Seth Fishman here. So please go ahead, Seth, tell us more about it.
Well, thanks, Marissa, and thanks to the Roundhouse for having us here, and thanks for you for joining us and doing something today on this Earth Day. I am so excited to be here. Do you think that on any author event, I get to show up to the actual aquarium, have this amazing stuff behind me? No, of course not. I'm really excited to be here. And I actually had the pleasure of coming here and joining Marissa and Brittany to film a video of me reading this book, making our way around the aquarium with Marissa and Brittany's help. And it was unlike anything I've seen, and we're really excited to be sharing that with you. But I wanted to just let you know a little bit more about me. I'm the author of, this is the book we're going to be talking about, The Ocean in Your Bathtub. So I'll save it for a little bit. But I want you to know that I wrote it, and a wonderful illustrator named Isabel Greenberg is the woman who illustrated the book. And the reason why is because I am such a good drawer, too good of a drawer to be able to have a chance to do this. Like if I were to do a shark, for instance, which I'm drawing right now, then this is what that shark would look like in the book. And if too much of this is just, it would distract everyone from the writing because it's so good. So we thought we'd bring someone else in to do that. Isabel and I have a few other, just letting you know, we have a few other books that we did together. 100 Billion Trillion Stars, which is about really big numbers. And we have Power Up Here, which is about the amazing energy inside you and how you keep that body going. And finally, I have a book coming out we'll talk about later, but I have a book coming out with a different illustrator named Jessica Bagley helped me out with this one. It's called When I Wake Up, and it's about the adventures that a child has when they wake up in the morning. It's very exciting. It comes out in November. So that's me in a nutshell, but most importantly is I'm here with you right now, and we're going to talk about the ocean in your bathtub and in the process and also the science behind it, which I never get to do. So this is a really special event. I'm so glad you're here joining both of us. So Marissa, what's next?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Seth. We're very excited to see your upcoming book. Very excited for what comes next. I am excited to tell you guys now that we are going to preview our video for you of Seth having his first adventure through our Roundhouse Aquarium while reading his book aloud to us. So let's go ahead without further ado, and we'll start that video for you guys. The Ocean in Your Bathtub at the Roundhouse Aquarium.
Hello everyone, my name is Seth Fishman and I am sitting in the ocean. Sort of. You see, that's what we're going to be talking about while we dig into my new picture book, The Ocean in Your Bathtub, also illustrated by the amazing Isabel Greenberg. Now, oceans are things that we just sort of think about with like large creatures like the orca whale, which is actually just a very large dolphin and is still very amazing. But the ocean actually does so much more than just provide amazing marine life to look at. Instead, it connects us all together. And that's what we're going to be talking about here in the Ocean in Your Bathtub. So come with me and we'll take a look. Would you do me a favor? Can you look underneath you and see if there's any salt water there? I'll wait. Is there? There's not? That's strange. Because the oceans are everywhere. Even right here. Only there's a way that I could make that clearer to you guys and show you some things to help with that point. Got an idea? Ready to go? Let's do it.
Well, this is perfect. Come on, everyone. Join me here at the Roundhouse Aquarium in Manhattan Beach. We'll find out everything about the ocean in your bathtub. Come on.
The oceans are everywhere. It's true. 5 oceans cover 71% of our planet and contain 97% of our water. Almost 4 out of every 10 humans live within 60 miles of one of those oceans. Look at all these guys. We got the Pacific, which is the largest, the Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and the Southern Ocean. I'm from West Texas, the desert, Midland, Texas, and there was no ocean anywhere near me. That's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, is because I cared so much about how the ocean affected me, even though I don't live anywhere near it. So for you kids who are watching that are not near the ocean, I want you to know that the ocean does affect you no matter where you are. But even if you don't live near a beach, and instead you live in a skyscraper, or on a farm, or in the mountains, or on a river, the oceans still play an enormous role in your everyday life. Now, go take a look out the nearest window. Do you see a cloud in the sky? There's some. Come on. Wow, that's perfect. That cloud, it says most likely here in the book, but it's definitely loaded with water vapor straight from the ocean. Seawater evaporated into the air and formed that cloud, and now it's going to drift over that island, and eventually it's going to pour down rain, and lots of that rain, or for this specifically, it's going to be maybe some drizzle, some precipitation in the morning, and then it's going to trickle back into the ocean. It's going to form a new cloud. This is called the water cycle. You know what's so interesting about this water right here, the ocean water, it's salty, but the water that comes down, that's fresh water. We can drink it. So how in the world does salty water come down as fresh water? Hey Marissa, do you think you can give me a hand here?
Sure thing, Seth. Thank you so much, you guys. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you a little experiment you guys can do to learn about how to answer that question of how the rainwater we feel on land is actually fresh water when it comes from the saltwater ocean. So what you're gonna do is have 2 sets of Petri dishes. You've got this one right here with some salt water, and this one right here has fresh water. And you wanna label it so you don't forget, because they look very similar. And then when you're done, after about maybe 3 or 4 hours in the sun, and you can come back and check it as often as you want, you're gonna find out that the water actually leaves the Petri dishes, right? And as the water leaves, it actually leaves behind nothing really except some residue in the fresh water, right? But in the salt water, you're gonna see it leaves behind salt crystals. Isn't that amazing? The salt crystals are too heavy. They're not gonna evaporate with the water. So you guys are gonna see those salt crystals at the end. Isn't that pretty briny?
Salty. Some water doesn't return directly to the ocean. It rains or snows down to fill our reservoirs and lakes and rivers. Those, along with the underground aquifers, are major sources of drinking water. Lots of marine life actually lives within fresh water as well, as you can see in these tanks behind me. Every plant, tree, and blade of grass is fed by falling water. All our fruits, grains, and vegetables need water to grow, just like we do, and they make up a large part of the food we eat every day. It's incredibly important for us to conserve fresh water. Can you guys think of great ways that you can conserve water at home? Let's ask some of the staff here at the Roundhouse Aquarium if they have any tips.
Thanks, Seth. Now, boys and girls, look what I have in front of me. I have some soap, I have a sponge and a bowl, and I have a toothbrush. What do these things have to do with conserving water? Well, when you're washing your hands, when you're washing the dishes, or when you're brushing your teeth, you can keep the faucet off when you don't need it, and that'll conserve the water.
Thank you so much, Brittany. Those sound like some really cool ideas. I'm gonna have to do some of those myself. One of my favorite ways to conserve water, though, is to collect the water in a rain barrel like this. And then when I need to, I can actually take the water out from down here, and I can actually water my plants with it, like this. So I'll be able to do this most of the year, even though it's not raining most of the year. So that's a good way to conserve water. All right, Seth, let's continue with the story.
Thanks for the tips. In fact, those crops are only one part of the bounty of the sea. About 3 billion people rely on seafood to survive. And since there's 7.5 billion people on Earth, that's just under half of the people on Earth rely on seafood to survive. Can you recognize so many things in here? Let's see here. We got fish sticks, crab, shrimp cocktail, oh, sushi. The ocean doesn't just provide thunderstorms and drinking water and food for life on land, which should be enough, right? It keeps giving. We actually breathe because of it. Even if you're too far from the sea to smell the sea air and the sea salt, the ocean provides 7 out of every 10 gulps of air that you actually breathe, which is incredible. I always knew that the rainforest was really important, and it still is important, but who knew that the ocean itself provided most of the oxygen that you actually breathe? In fact, a forest of trillions and trillions of tiny plants floats in and on the sea, taking in sunlight and exhaling oxygen. They're like the big breathing lungs of the sea. You feel that? So, what's one of the most amazing things about being here at the Roundhouse Aquarium is this Discovery Center. You get the opportunity to look in on all these different specific things about the ocean. Something that's really amazing that's going on right now and sometimes happens at different times of the year is something called the red tide. It's when the ocean takes on a shade of red because there are trillions and trillions of tiny plants, exactly literally this, called plankton. The specific plankton is called dinoflagellates. And the thing that's so amazing about the dinoflagellates is that at night they have this amazing blue bioluminescent color. That's a tough word for you. Bioluminescent color that happens whenever it responds to action or stimuli. So waves roll and it turns blue. If someone threw a rock in there, it turns blue. And it might seem a little bit familiar. It's sort of like one of these glow sticks right here. You take it, you crack it, and then you get the blue color. It's the same kind of chemicals that are in the inside of one of these glow sticks right here. So that's some of the amazing things that you can see here at the Discovery Center. Of course, humans aren't the only creatures relying on the oceans. Bears, birds, and numerous other animals rely on fish and seafood for their daily diet. Plants do too. Soil along the rivers that empty into the oceans is fertilized by fish that swim upriver. That's not even counting the potentially many more than 1 million different species that live in the oceans. The ocean is full of life and wonder. This is one of my favorite pages, filled with all these really fun facts. Like, did you know that the white sand beaches in Hawaii are actually made from the poop of the parrotfish? That's right, important fact. Poop beaches, go enjoy them. But since we're here right now at the aquarium, we have the opportunity to see all the amazing marine life that's here, like these guys up above. So let's go take a look. Like Octavia here has 9 brains. And jellyfish have no brains, but are still awesomely amazing. Or these curious little creatures. Did you know that the male seahorse is the ones that actually give birth to babies? It's awesome. And here, the sarcastic French head can open its mouth 3 times the size of its head. Ah. And of course here, peeking its head out, this little orange guy right here is the Garibaldi, the California state fish. And just as the ocean affects everyone everywhere, everything you do affects the ocean. The baths we take, the toilets we flush, the garbage we toss, the balloons we let slip from our fingers. See, for a long time now, no one thought about how much stuff we put in the oceans, or how many fish and other marine life we took out. I bet you guys can see some things in here that's not supposed to be in the ocean, huh? Sometimes it takes a while to learn from your mistakes, right? Well, so now's our chance. Because even the smallest action can do some good. Can you guys think of something that could help reduce the trash that's put into the oceans? You know, I know some people who'll be able to tell us some really cool ways to reduce the waste that goes into the oceans.
Thanks, Seth. I love what you said, that the smallest actions can do some good. So boys and girls, I would love to share with you some of the actions I like to take to protect our planet and our oceans. I have my really nice Roundhouse bag here, and instead of going to the grocery store and asking them for paper or plastic, I'll actually bring this and fill this up. Instead of using a plastic water bottle, I'll bring this water bottle and fill it out throughout the day. Now let's see what we have inside the bag. All right, if you ever use plastic to hold your fruits and veggies, I actually have this that can hold it in, and then I can wash it when I want to use it next. And same idea with the Ziploc bag. Instead of using a plastic Ziploc bag, I will bring this with me, and then you can easily wash this and reuse that. Now, whenever you're walking around and you see trash on the ground, boys and girls, you can actually pick that trash up and either throw it in the trash can or the recycling. I have a quick question for you. Do you think that trash that is 50 miles away from the ocean can get to the ocean if it's on the floor? I have a really good friend, her name is Marissa. She's actually going to tell you the answer to that question.
Thank you so much, Brittany, for those awesome tips on how we can help protect our ocean and our beaches. And now for a little bit about how our trash that we end up throwing out on land ends up in the ocean. So behind me, we have the beautiful city of Manhattan Beach. When any of our trash that ends up on the ground can flow into the streets and end up in the storm drains, they lead directly to the ocean. And unfortunately, this is what you get. We've got bottle caps in here, some straws, lots of styrofoam, different kinds of paper and plastic. And all of this is gonna turn our water into a terrible polluted mess. And we don't want that, right? So we gotta make sure we do our part. We gotta make sure we clean up as best we can and do some of those good deeds that Brittany talked about earlier. So I want you guys to think about what your good deeds are gonna be. Thank you so much, Seth. Back to you.
That good deed of yours can have a great effect. If everyone does something small to help the oceans, those deeds will ripple outward the same way that streams feed into the creeks and brooks and rivers and lakes, all of which eventually flow back into the ocean. This ocean of good deeds surrounds us all, bringing everyone and everything together. Even you, no matter where you are. So don't worry if you're not visiting the ocean anytime soon. The ocean's bound to visit you soon enough anyways. Thanks so much for coming with me as I read The Ocean in Your Bathtub. Now, at the back of the book is this author's note that's filled with all sorts of other fun facts about the ocean. Hope you have a chance to read it. I want to send a big shout out and thank you to everyone at the Roundhouse Aquarium who made this possible. And of course, the wonderful marine life that's here joining us on this tour of the aquarium. And a big thanks to you for being here with us and being willing and able and interested in learning about the ocean in your bathtub. Thanks so much.
Well, that was wonderful.
It's a tear to my eyes. So good. Daniel did such a good job putting that together. That was really fun.
You really did a remarkable job. That was one of my favorite projects, and parts of that video make me laugh to this day, like when you licked the salt. Awesome.
It was delicious.
Well, it looks like we do have some questions for all of us in the chat. It looks like we've got some really good comments too. Carl Carranza says, "What a fun book," and I agree with him for sure. Let's see.
And woohoo, phytoplankton, absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm jazzed about phytoplankton as well. So we do have some pretty cool stuff. Looks like our first question is from Brittany, and I think it's directed for you, Seth.
Hi, Brittany. How long does it take you to write a book? Well, it definitely depends on what kind of book you're writing. These are picture books. They're only 32 pages long. There's about 500 words in them. And people take different amount of times to write them. I like to sort of vomit up a first draft. What that means is I'll sit down and within, I don't know, a weekend, I'll write these 500 words about in sort of a bad form. The writing's not as good as I want. I'm just trying to get ideas out. And then I spend another month or two editing. Except the difference here is because this is these are nonfiction books. That means that they're books that are based off of true facts. I have to do a lot of research on them. So a lot of times I will start doing research first and get these cool ideas down and sort of write the idea, just like the facts down, and use those to couple them together. And that takes a lot of extra time doing that kind of research. Still, it probably only takes me of actual writing time, about 2 months, and then there's editing. It's the illustration that takes so long. I can be done with the book and it doesn't come out for another 18 months before the illustration and the publisher has it go out. So yeah, great question.
That's wonderful. Oh, and Lucas, who's 7, likes to write. He's writing a series about snakes. He wants to know, Seth, have you ever written a series, or are you going to write more about the ocean?
That's a great question. Hi, Lucas. So first of all, awesome that you're writing. And one thing I want to say about writing for anyone who's interested is that writing is sort of like sports in some ways. You have to practice to get good. You can't just sit down and write it out and then it just magically exactly the way you want it. Sometimes you have to work at it. And so you'll see the writing you're doing now and will just get better and better and better. So just keep at it and have fun with it, and it's going to be wonderful. So do I write series? That's a great question. Well, actually, the books I write with Isabel, they're not directly related, but they sort of have the same style. They all have the author's note in the back. Boy, I'm bad at these webcams. They have the same sort of the author's note in the back, and they actually, you can see this is the paperback version of 100 Billion Trillion Stars. We sort of present them as a series of STEM related books, even though they're not. This one's about math and that one's about the ocean. And then I have one coming out next May called The World Up Your Nose with Isabel as well, which is about germs. And so that's sort of going to be those 4. In terms of series, I actually do have 2 young adult books, which means books that are written for teenagers. The first one's called The Well's End, and the second one's called The Dark Water. And that's a duology, which means there's 2 books in the series. And so that's a series I actually have written. But I also am starting to write some fiction, which are just made up stories. And those won't be series. They're just going to be different every time. And I'm really having fun writing it. So thanks for that question. That was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that book on germs is just in time.
Almost too late already.
Oh, this is a good question. I think this is one we can both tackle. What are your favorite animals? Let's start with you. Oh, me?
No,
okay.
You first.
Okay. I think my absolute favorite animal, if I had to pick one for the ocean, would be manta rays. They are enormous, sometimes 4 foot or 6 foot long animals, and they are virtually harmless. They don't have those stingers that stingrays have. And when they feed, they have these little things that look almost like a little mustache that comes out, and they feed on plankton. So it's really fun to watch them in the ocean when they feed. They do these little somersaults in the water called barrel rolls. So those are my absolute favorite animals on Earth. Seth, what about you?
Unmuted. There we go. First of all, it was awesome to hear about the manta rays. This is going to be an answer that I'm going to pull back to you, Marissa, because it sort of answers another question that Laura Ellis has: is there octopus at the Roundhouse? I've recently become a bit obsessed with the octopus, not to the point where I have a nonfiction book written where I know everything about it. You're the expert still, Marissa, but I saw that documentary, My Octopus Teacher, and then I read a book just recently about how just amazing octopi are, and all the octopuses are. That's what it is, right? And just all the amazing things that they do, and how intelligent they are, and how they can fit in and through small spaces, and just really, really fascinating, brilliant creatures. And as you can see, there's an answer there. Octavia is alive and well, and she's much bigger. So come down to the Roundhouse and take a look. She's actually right over on the other side of my camera. Watch out. So I get to look right at her.
She's my favorite. I really enjoy feeding her. She always keeps us on our toes, and she's incredibly smart. So we love having Octavia. That's wonderful.
I have a quick 2-parter, but I didn't want to surprise you guys. So the 2-parter question is, hey, Seth, what inspires your different book topics? And also, and I think this could be for both of you, and also, what are your favorite kids' books?
Greg, that's some great questions. Thank you for that. All right, well, I guess I'll start and then we'll go. Okay. So, what inspired my book topics? So, most of my inspiration is the world around me. And a lot of times it actually means my kids. I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, Weston and Caspian. Hopefully, you guys are watching. And there are, amazing things that you do with your kids, and you can build stories out of that. 100 Billion Trillion Stars is the first picture book, and this was actually just trying to capture, the understanding as a new dad of that my kid's going to be asking questions, and I want to know the answers. And I figured one of the questions would be, how many stars are in the sky? And so I did a research, discovered that the answer is 100 billion trillion. Even though if you go outside and you look on a clear night, you can only see 5,000 but there's 100 billion trillion in the universe. And so that's sort of how I started there. The ocean in your bathtub. I'm from a desert. I'm from West Texas, Midland, Texas, and now I live in Manhattan Beach. And I was thinking about how my kids are exposed to the ocean, and I wasn't at all. And they have a whole different world. My Weston is learning how to surf, and it's something I did not get to do when I was younger. And I was curious to know how the ocean, affected me as a kid when I was in the desert. And so that was some of the inspiration. And then I would actually say, for when I wake up, this is a very clear one. The point of the book is that a kid wakes up at 6:15 and their parents have told the kid not to wake them up until it's 7. We used to have this alarm clock that had a red, green, and orange light on it. And if the red light was going, Weston wasn't supposed to come and to wake us up. It didn't work at all. He came wake us up whenever, and that's fine. We love him. But it was supposed to only wait till it was green. So that gave me this idea of what would the kid do if you woke up at 6:15 and you had till 7? What would you do? And that's how that book started. My favorite kids book of all time is a classic. It's Where the Wild Things Are. I think if you look at that book, it's just perfect. It's poetry. There's pages of it with no dialogue. It's just fantastic. There's some new ones that are really wonderful. If you like nonfiction, like this, like mine, Bethany Barton has some incredible books like I'm Trying to Love Spiders, I'm Trying to Love Rocks, and that's a series. And then there's also, like Dan Santana has a book called After the Fall, which is like genuinely surprising and really wonderful. And to be honest, there's just so many other really wonderful ones. Matt DeLaPena has some great ones. And I could go on forever here, so I'll stop. What about you, Marissa? You're on mute.
I swear I unmuted myself. Okay. Those are some really good ones, though. Thank you. I think for me, though, I've always been a Bernstein Bear girl. I would read those books forever, and I loved that they were a series. Super fun. They'd always get into trouble. And I had a little brother, so for me, it was like, oh, yeah, I can relate to what's going on in these stories. So I'd have to say those are some of my favorite books was the Bernstein Bear collection.
Fun fact, my first job was working at the literary agency that represented them. So we had all the books. It was pretty fun to look through them.
Yeah, it's quite an extensive series. That's pretty awesome. Oh, here we got a question from Kayla, who's 5. She wants to know how many blue spots a baby Garibaldi has. Well, Kayla, that's a really good question. And first off, let's broach that subject. Garibaldi, juveniles, babies, actually do have blue spots, whereas the adults do not. They are solid orange. So I don't know if you can verify that, Seth. Yes, there it is right there. And those Garibaldi, if you want to know how many spots they have, you really do have to kind of count them, because that's like asking someone, how many freckles do you have, right? You just never know. Every Garibaldi is different. They're all individuals. So it really depends on the fish. But good question, Kayla. That's a good one.
Oh, how does one get a copy of your books? It's a great question, Grace. Thank you. Yeah, well, my books are for sale sort of wherever books are sold. But we have a great relationship with Pages Bookstore, which is in Manhattan Beach. And if any of you want me to actually sign that book and personalize it, you can order it from them online on their website at Pages Bookstore and reference that, and I'll come in and sign. They actually have signed copies now, but I'll sign a name to it if you want, and that would be awesome. But Barnes and Noble you could order from. You can order from Amazon, wherever you need to order books from. That's okay. It's great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason. But when I started writing books, this is where the wild things are. When I started writing books and really looking at it, it's basically a perfect poem. So I love it.
Oh, this is a great question. What is your most popular book? I'd like to know that too.
Well, it does. Thanks for the question. It depends on what you might define as popular, but I think the answer is pretty clear. That's 100 billion trillion stars. This is my first book, and we are in like our 7th printing. It won the Mathical Prize for the best book to help kids learn math in 2018. It was a Horn Honor Prize book, so it's won for some. It was named by Amazon, the Planetary Society, and Space.com as a best book of 2018. So it's done pretty well, and that's why this is actually a paperback, because it had there's not too many kids books that go into the paperback, and that's where it's at right now. So that's pretty fun. But here's hoping that when I wake up is a fun new different adventure in that space, and I'm really looking forward to it. I love this job. It's great. So
It's definitely pretty cool. Here's a good one. How old were you when you became aware of the environment? I bet this is a question we could both answer, I think, right? Okay. I think I'll go first. For me, I think I was aware of it probably starting in 4th grade is when I truly became aware of what was going on. And that's when you start to learn about ecosystems and food webs, and you get to go on field trips to places like the beach. And for me, being a Valley girl, growing up in the San Fernando Valley, like the beach was a special treat whenever I got to go. So for me, that's exactly when I started learning. And then my mom and dad have always been really good about like making sure my brother and I knew what the nature was like, whether it was the field behind the fence of our backyard, or whether it was the park, or the zoo, if we went to go visit the zoo, or the aquariums that were nearby. So they always tried their best to make sure that we were immersed in nature and that we were aware of what was going on. And, not all of it is necessarily good news, but there's a lot of good stuff going on too, especially on days like today, like Earth Day. It's a fantastic way to celebrate Earth and everything going on and all that she provides for us. So that was my experience with becoming aware of the environment. What about you, Seth?
That's awesome. I love it. I love hearing, that it's 4th grade, where really locked in, and you were then able to channel that all the way, to what you do as your professional career now, which is just fantastic. Actually, I think that I was aware a little bit earlier, because my dad was a geologist, which is a scientist who studied rocks, and he was actually, in West Texas, it was oil. He studied oil, and I remember he used to take me out to the oil rigs, and he would literally have in our garage, which is extraordinarily dangerous, like oil jars of petroleum that he pulled from different rigs, and the first time I noticed it in a global context was also oil, because I was aware of what my dad did. And I remember the Exxon Valdez spill. There was a big oil tanker that got in a wreck and spilled oil everywhere, and it was awful. And I remember being very aware that was something that came out of the earth that my dad helped pull out, and then ended up causing some harm. And it's a hard thing to recognize. Sometimes the things that you do have a direct relationship with the world around you, from the straw that you drink to the those plastic bags that you carry. So it was a hard lesson to learn, but it was something that needed to be done, and I that's when I first registered it.
Wow, that's really cool. I had no idea that your dad was so involved in that. Oil rigs to me are also fascinating because they offer a chance for things to settle underneath the water too. It's quite an unusual world underneath an oil rig. It's very pretty. Let's see. Oh, Gabriel, Alexis, and Ezekiel says hi. And Gabriel loves ocean animals, and he wants to know how he can become an ocean animal scientist. That is a really cool question, and I would say the best thing you can do is keep going in school and make sure you try to get every opportunity you can to volunteer at places that have animals, whether it's a zoo or an aquarium. or even your local wildlife center, right? There's lots of those around, and they take in injured animals and things like that. Also books, right? Read as much as you can about all different kinds of animals, because that's really where you get a lot of your knowledge from, besides the hands-on experience that you can find at volunteering opportunities and internship opportunities. And then, of course, there's always college, right? College is a good route to go if you want to become a scientist. So I highly recommend those different avenues for you, Gabriel. This one's for you, Seth.
I don't know how I lost my mute button. There you are. Thank you for the question. Advice for aspiring writers. It is also books and writing is the first and foremost. You know, most of y'all are fairly young right now. The most important thing for you to be doing by far is just read and read and read and read. Eat up those books like you do 3 meals a day. And then practice your writing, and you'll see that at first you're going to probably write things like the stuff that you read. And like I used to love the Lord of the Rings. Well, I still love it, but Lord of the Rings was this book series, one of the first ones that really got in my head. And I used to write a lot of books that a lot of stories that sounded just like that. And slowly you start to develop your own voice, and you have your own stories that you want to share and tell. And so that's like the practical read and just practice writing. But then when you get a little bit older, you can start sending stories or books off to try and get published. You can also go to college for it. I actually went to a grad school. I got my master's degree in creative writing at the University of East Anglia in Norwich, England, which was really fun because it was fun to go there and also to spend a year just like working on writing. And yeah, I mean, that's really the main. You got to you sort of put yourself in that writing space. You can find writing communities online, everywhere from TikTok to YouTube, to just go into local bookstores, and they always have reading groups and this and that. And those kind of communities help you work with each other and write with each other, and you just grow. And it takes a bit of time to get there, but it's really fun once you get the skills to where you want to be. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'd often thought about being a writer, but I can safely say I think I'm much better at being a scientist.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet. Where's your Octavia the Octopus story? I mean, come on. We have a chance.
That's true. That'd be a good one. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? Oh, here's one. What was your inspiration for the ocean in your bathtub?
Thanks, Jenny. Well, the inspiration, what made me write it, was I sort of mentioned it a little bit earlier, was really about me being here and raising kids near the ocean, and trying to understand how the ocean affects, you know, other places in the world, and that led to some of the fun facts that I learned. You know, there's lots of really cool things about cool creatures in the ocean. You know, the fact that the sperm whale like deflates its lungs so it can go down and dive and stuff. But what I found about the ocean is just incredible. That you know, the fact I would say that was the most fun, most interesting. You know, I always knew that the trees, you know, getting cut down is taking away the opportunity for the trees to be creating oxygen for us to be breathing. But I didn't really know that most of the oxygen you breathe, 70% of it actually comes from plant life in the ocean itself. And I found that to be mind-boggling. And then just, you know, we live here. I don't know how often or people who are watching have been into the ocean, but just standing there and feeling the power and the force of that, and recognizing, you know, what kind of role it plays. It just inspires you, and you want to know more about it. And you want to share how amazing it is with everyone. So I just like sharing the cool things that I learn, and I like learning things. So those two things go together. Thanks for that question.
That's actually a lot of what scientists do, actually. We love to learn and we love to share what we learn. So we have that in common.
Well, you know what? I think one of the greatest things about the Roundhouse is that y'all do so much education, so much outreach, and not the boring type of education, but really fun. Show kids what's going on, like doing all these really amazing things, both you and other people that are part of the Roundhouse. When I was entering here, there was a group of Girl Scouts that were on their way out. And so, there's so many opportunities here at the Roundhouse. I love that, and I love what y'all do. So this is so much fun doing this event. In fact, this event. So, absolutely.
All right, Marissa, I have a two-parter coming your way about marine biology.
All right, here we go. Let's see. What's your favorite part of being a marine biologist? Well, oh my goodness. Okay. I would have to say one of my favorite things about being a marine biologist is just getting the opportunity to go out there into the wild to observe animals, whether I'm going out to collect data. For instance, scuba diving, you actually have to be a scientific diver and get certain certifications to be able to, master certain skills underwater so that you can actually collect data underwater without worrying about all that.
Sorry for interrupting, but can you give us an example? That's so fascinating. I didn't know that. Sorry for interrupting. I really want
No, not at all. Let's see. For instance, you have to be very good at being able to float like a fish, right? So you have to get your buoyancy down so you're not constantly releasing air, because you want to save all the air you can, because that means more time down there getting your data, right? So you have to be very careful how you move around. Also, a lot of the things we study are very sensitive and fragile, like coral reefs. You cannot touch the reef with any part of your body because that could impact the reef, right? So that's another reason why buoyancy is very important. And then once you got that down, you have to be able to write. So, you've got your clipboard and your pencil that can write underwater, and everything's attached to your vest, which holds your tank of air. So, you have to know where everything goes. You have to be able to find it without looking at it, because when you have a wetsuit that comes up to here and a mask, it's very hard to bend your head down and look at anything. So, yeah, a lot of skills you got to learn.
That's awesome. Super fascinating.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'd say my favorite part of being a marine biologist is just getting out there and exploring and being exposed to new things. Okay, here's the two-parter, right? The second part. Is there a particular area in marine biology that you focus on? Oh, well, thanks, Greg. I'm glad you asked that question. I'm actually getting my master's over at Cal State University Fullerton, so plug for Fullerton. It's a great school. And in that particular area, I focus on marine ecology, and I'm studying a specific animal called the red abalone, which is a giant marine sea snail that has one little muscular foot, a flattened shell, and it's really cool. They eat seaweed, and I'm looking at the reproductive behaviors specifically. So that's what I'm primarily focusing on. That's wonderful. Thanks so much, Jean, for that awesome wave of encouragement. Did you get my pun? Wave of encouragement.
They're all full of puns here. It's really wonderful. But as my last name is Fishman, I do feel quite at home. So, well, I should have said a pun there. Quite an enemy. I don't know.
You feel like quite the fish school, don't you? Huh?
Yes.
That's wonderful.
She just scored me.
Well, let's see if we don't have any more questions from the audience. I can also give you guys a quick little sneak peek of our tank behind me, and we can kind of look at some of those beautiful animals that are there for the time that we have remaining. What do you think, Brittany? Is that possible?
That works. And if you guys want to stay on, I have a winner for the sea turtle raffle, our prize winner. So as soon as Marissa is done with the fun tour of one of the tanks, then I'll raffle this off.
Let's go ahead and get you guys off of this. Oh, okay, here we go. All right, so this is our giant kelp forest tank. Lots of rocks, and we've got some fake kelp in there. It's not exactly real. We have our beautiful leopard shark. There's Lucy. She's taking a snooze, but she'll be up and swimming in a minute or two. We also have an eel who's kind of hiding in the kelp. There you go. Now you can see her better. She's one of our oldest ladies we've got in this tank. They can live to be over 30 years old, and we've proven it in captivity. That is correct. She's been with us for quite a while. She is a different color than the other eels in the tank, but that's pretty much, we think, because she can't really see that well anymore. So she may not even realize she doesn't really blend in. And eels like them, the moray eels, are super cool. They have 2 sets of jaws. You do not want to get caught in those eel mouths, that's for sure. Let's see, we also just had a Garibaldi swim by. Let me see if I can find him again. There he is. Garibaldi are the California state fish. They're pretty exciting. Brilliantly colored, and like we said about the juveniles, they have those blue spots. And then down here, also taking a little snooze, he's had a long Earth day. This is Sheldon. He's our California sheephead. And wrasse can actually lay down like this in the evening time. They can actually take a nap like this, or they can be sideways against the rock crevices. They look quite bizarre when they're doing this, but that's how they get their rest. So it's pretty cool. Let's see. That's pretty much what we've got for today in our kelp forest tank. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little sneak preview. Again, you're welcome to come visit us in person if you want to. Now that we are open, thanks, Brittany.
Awesome.
There's
Thanks.
David
Ooh.
over there.
Let me zoom
Right
in on
over
Seth real
there.
fast.
There she is. You can see her right there on the tank on the right on the screen. On the bottom. Sorry, I think it's close. There you are. No, she's not doing much.
She's camouflaging.
As it were.
A lot of our animals like to take this time and opportunity to snooze. It's after hours. We're closing up shop over here at the aquarium. So they know it's time to take a nap and rest up for the next day. Thank you so much. It was so wonderful to have everybody watching us today. And Brittany, are we ready to find out the winner? Okay.
Woo! I think so. So I saw in the chat, Gabriel, Alexis, and Ezekiel Furukawa kids, you are the winners of our sea turtle sticker. Now I am going to write our email in the chat, info@roundhouseaquarium.org. Feel free to email us. Let me know that you're the winner, and we will set this up so that you can win this sticker. Now, don't you worry. I'll bring Marissa and Seth back. I just had a quick announcement on this beautiful Earth Day. One more thank you to our sponsors, the Port of Long Beach, Chevron, and Dive and Surf. Thank you so much for supporting these Earth Month events. And we actually have one more coming up this Saturday. We have our amazing tide pool event. So that's going to be Saturday at 9:30 a.m. with me and Marissa. We're going to be talking all about tide pools, how to trek through the tide pools, and some of the cool animals you'll see in the tide pool. And you can sign up on our website. You can also sign up to come visit us, making a reservation. That's right. We are open to the public. So if you go to our website, roundhouseaquarium.org, you can make a reservation to come and see us and see the tanks in person. And if you have any young ones, 4 to 7-year-olds or 8 to 10-year-olds, we also have our in-person summer camp. And again, all of this can be found on our website, roundhouseaquarium.org. So again, I want to say happy Earth Day. I'm going to bring my guests up again. There you guys are. Happy Earth Day. Thank you so much, so much for joining us. Thanks for all your questions, your participation. Look at all this. Awesome. Thank you. Happy Earth Day. Very cool. You guys, you, Marissa and Seth, were amazing, and I applaud you both.
Well, thanks for having us. Marissa, you are amazing. I love doing events with y'all too. This is so much fun. Thanks for being here, everyone. Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.